Okay, everybody, welcome back to our remote writing workshop. We are doing this on a Monday today. Erin and I were extremely busy on Friday, so here we are on a Monday just to make your Monday morning that much better. So today we're talking about standing out in the saturated nonfiction marketplace. So many first-time writers talk to us about how nerve-wracking it can be to attempt to write and publish nonfiction books in genres such as self-help, personal development, health, or business because the marketplace is just so saturated. Today, we're going to calm those fears by giving solid advice on the best ways to stand out in the congested nonfiction book crowd. In the self-help category alone, the number of book titles jumped from 31,000 in 2013 to 85,000 titles in 2019. That's a threefold increase. We definitely need to talk about how authors can still have a big impact when publishing a book in these jam-packed genres. So, question number one, Erin, now timing is everything. So when should authors begin thinking about how to get readers to notice their book?
This is so important if you want to stand out, because you want to get started before you begin writing, not after you start page one, before. And it's much, much too late to wait until it's time to market your book, for sure. So that is, you definitely want to get started as quickly as possible, the earliest you can, because if not, your book will definitely get lost, guaranteed. You don't even want to wait till after you finish writing the manuscript. So the earlier, the better. So before you put pen to paper, fingertips to keyboard, figure out how to make your book distinctive. So how do you make your book stand out with all of these other titles that are coming out each year? Well, you can research, find, and speak to your ideal reader. That's key. You want to solve a unique problem for your reader. You want to establish your expertise. The strength and clarity of the writing itself can make your book stand out. You want to use strong visuals and design for the cover and the interior, building a strong author platform, as we've talked about many times. And finally, by creating and using effective and honed marketing.
Awesome. Yes. So I just wanted to piggyback onto that a little bit. So we always say here at Greenleaf, we have authors always asking us, when should I start building up my brand? When should I start the marketing process? You start that before the book is even finished, especially in the nonfiction space. I know we covered author and brand building in a whole other separate video, so definitely go check that one out. However, with nonfiction authors, brand and platform is huge. You need to have it. It is so integral for the success of the book. So getting that started, blogging, building up your mailing list, doing speaking events, doing podcasts, getting your voice out there and really starting to establish that audience and that community base. Perfect. Chef's kiss. That's how you're going to get started way before the manuscript is even finished.
Right. You can't just wait and say, okay, here, everything's done. Now let's get started doing a blog and finding people. It's way too late in the game for that.
Yeah. You need to get it started as soon as possible. So once you have that thought that, maybe I want to start writing a book, get that brand built.
Exactly.
All right. So now let's talk about the ideal reader. How will finding your target reader help your book stand out, Erin?
Well, many authors think it's easy to find your target reader because anyone who can read will love my book. Anyone who has eyes. Wrong. You want to dig deep. So you want to find out who specifically is your book written for. What is their identifiable problem and how will you solve that problem for them? So if you discover, for example, that your readers are female entrepreneurs, dig deeper. What's the age range? Where do they live? How do they live? What are their concerns? What are their successes? What do they like? What do they dislike? What tone will they appreciate? How will you best connect with them? Consider creating a written archetype of your reader. Who are they? Build them, create them, draw a picture of them. And if you get very specific about who you are speaking to before you begin writing and write only to that ideal reader versus everyone who enjoys reading or females, your book will stand out from the others in your genre. So once you find your reader, then you want to identify their problem, that specific reader's problem. So you want to find your reader's pain points. And these are the problems that your ideal readers have that can only be solved by the advice you're giving them. And this makes your book unique, among all the other titles in your genre. So look at your competition and make sure that your book solves a distinctive problem that hasn't been tackled before. So you want to research your competition. You want to see what's already been covered, what's working, and what's not. Next, you want to decide the unique way that you will solve your reader's problem, your ideal reader's problem. And this is another surefire way to be unique among the crowd. So you solve the reader's problem in a way that no one else has before. Will you give new insights? Can you then provide step-by-step instructions? Will you provide a new approach to the subject or problem? So you really want to find your angle, find your hook. And these are all things you do before you even get into the writing itself. This is going to make your book stand out. And really think about, how is your message different?
Awesome. Okay, so once you find your ideal reader, their problem, and the unique way you will solve that problem, you have to convince them why you're the best person to help them solve their problem. That means an author's expertise is essential. So Erin, you start off and then I will add to that.
Yeah, I mean, you ideally want to be an expert in the field. And I know we've mentioned this a lot before. You know, you don't want to write a book on yoga if you're not an incredible yoga teacher, or you have something personal to offer the reader. You know, you don't want to just have a random hobby. You want to have some expertise, so you're offering something to them. So you can even be a teacher of others, the best of the best. You want to be well established in your field. You can be an award winner, someone with tons of followers, clients. Again, at least have a personal or relatable story that shows your experience with the problem you're addressing. In other words, it really just needs to be very clear why the reader should listen to you, and even better, why they should listen to you over other experts in your very crowded book category. So beyond your professional expertise, think about what in your background can make your book unique, that personal story or connection, so you can really reach the reader in that way. What can you bring to the table that other experts in your field cannot?
I think a good point to add to this here as well is establishing your key goals. What do you want the book to do? So especially in the nonfiction space, there's so many different avenues someone can go down with their book. They can either use it as a thought leadership tool, they can use it as a lead gen tool for their business, they can use it as a means to solidify their expertise, they can use it as a catalyst to get into the speaking business. So you really want to decipher those concrete goals. And then that will kind of help you decide what kind of message that you want to give to people. You know, what do they want to hear from you? So if you are wanting to solidify your expertise, like Erin said, if you are a yoga instructor, but you have just recently started doing yoga, that's fine. You can still do like my journey, you know, to becoming a yoga teacher or something like that, but you have to make it relevant to where you are. Like she said in another example, if you're a heart surgeon, you're probably not going to want to give an advice book on breakups because, you know, why, you know,
unless it's how it hurts your heart.
Exactly. But, you know, if you have these really great credentials, like let's say you are a project management coach, you have all of these credentials in project management and in business, you might want to think about how all of those attributes can kind of help you give the expertise that you're going to give. So when you are writing a book on a pretty established topic, are you credentialed to speak about that topic? Is that particular topic something that requires some sort of credential or some sort of certification for you to talk about it? And, you know, if you are wanting to speak about a certain topic or talk about a certain topic, you might want to start doing your research and maybe start getting credentialed in some of those areas so that that part of the book can come out even stronger. So when you are deciding what you want to do with this book and how you want this book to affect people, you really need to start to think about your concrete goals in the beginning and then how the book is going to affect those goals. So how are you going to use the book to achieve those goals? So if you are running a business and the book is a lead generation tool, you are going to want to talk about, you know, how is your book different? A lot of what we see is, this is a pretty common thing that we see a lot in publishing, is some books that come in, especially some nonfiction books, are just so vague and they have information that is easily Googleable, that someone can just Google, you know, it has like the basics that everybody can Google. What is your book going to offer? So people are not going to want to purchase your book if it's just kind of an overlay of, a general, a bunch of blog posts that you can read on Google. What actionable hooks are you going to give in your book? What expertise is different? What do you have to offer that is different from everything else that's being said? If you are running a business and you have the formula to success and you are doing, every which way, and you are getting all these really great conversions and all these really great impacts for your clients, that's what you want to talk about. You want to talk about how you can also be this person. What advice can you give? And if you have a really great story that kind of, helped you, realize your true passion in life, and it fits really well in the story, great. Make it resonate with people though. Don't spend the whole nonfiction book talking about yourself, because unfortunately, unless you have a very incredible story, a lot of people, it doesn't resonate with them. It doesn't really apply to them. So if you have a really great story, make sure to interweave it with a lot of actionable advice and tangible benefits that people can take away from this book. A lot of first mistakes I see are people who don't go into the actual steps of what you can do. They talk too much about, beat around the bush, and they talk too much about the general concept, but don't really go into, okay, what can I take from this and really apply it to my life? That's what's going to make the difference.
Right, exactly. And that's why you have to decide these things before you're even writing, because it's what unique things are you giving the reader? What can they not, like you said, what can they not just hop on the internet and just quickly search up? Mm-hmm. You need to bring them something that is incredibly unique from your background, that you bring as an expert, your story, something like that. They need a takeaway, something that they're not going to get from any of these hundreds and thousands of other titles. So that's obviously something you have to establish before you get to the marketing part. Mm-hmm. Well before.
Exactly. Okay. So you mentioned the writing itself. As an editor, tell us about how an author can make their book stand out as they begin writing their manuscript. What specifically can they do to make their fiction books unique?
Well, once you have established your angle, your hook, what you're giving the reader that is going to make it stand out from all these other books, you want to focus on the writing itself. You want to start with clarity and simplicity. You want to make it easy to read so readers will keep reading. You don't want to get too technical. I mean, obviously there's going to be situations where you might be talking to people in your field, and fine, keep the technical stuff for them. But for most of these general nonfiction books, you want to keep it very clear and simple. You want to be straightforward. You want to address the problem, show the problem, solve the problem. You want to engage your readers in the first few paragraphs and chapters, get them hooked. It's wonderful to tell stories. Think about writing as a fiction writer, how they would connect with their readers, and do that. One way to show the problem and solution in a compelling and easy to remember way is to make the writing personable and engaging. So really think about your tone. You don't want it to be too dry, too academic. You want to connect with your reader and say, we're in this together. I'm going to help you solve this problem. So you want to include anecdotes and stories featuring yourself or other people who are experiencing the problem that are relatable to your ideal reader. And of course, also stories about people that are using, for instance, your methods that have helped them overcome this problem, so readers can see how that works. Also, visuals are huge. You want to look at your competition's book jackets and interior layouts to see what's working and what's not. Check out the bestsellers in your genre for titling ideas, design ideas. For the interior of the book, you can keep the reader engaged. You don't want to be too text heavy. You want to leave plenty of white space, use graphics. You can use pull-out quotes, which is when you take, important sentences and you'll put them in distinctive fonts, bullet lists, end of chapter summaries. So really put a lot of thought into how you can improve the reader experience through visuals as well. That makes a huge difference.
Definitely. And I just kind of want to note back to what we were saying about, personal stories. They're so important, especially to make nonfiction books a little bit more relevant and relatable. But remember, memoir tends to be a pretty tough genre for someone who doesn't have a very large platform. So what we say a lot is, if you are offering some sort of self-help, definitely make sure to interweave it with actionable advice. Don't make it too heavy on the memoir side, because unfortunately, it may have a tougher time, you know, in the retail sales market, just because memoir tends to, you know, have a tougher time compared to self-help and things with actionable advice and things, because with memoir, they're really looking for, you know, unfortunately the way it is, if you're celebrity status, that's, you know, the memoirs that people want to read. And so if you, it's wonderful to throw in personal experiences. That's what makes them, you know, relatable and relevant, and really makes you kind of like fall in love with what the author is saying, like the author is reading directly to you. I remember reading a few books where I thought the author was speaking directly to me and who I was at that time, because I was making these same mistakes. And so, like Erin was saying, you have to make it, you know, relevant to your ideal. You look at your buyer persona and what kind of struggles, maybe do a couple, you know, target surveys and focus groups, and really seeing what these problems are and how to solve them through your writing. Because, you know, actionable stories and events, but make them relevant to your reader.
Definitely. And so they can have a takeaway. So it's not just, oh, that's a lovely story, but what can I use from that in my life?
The actionable takeaways are key.
Definitely.
All right, so drawing off of author expertise, let's talk about the importance of author platform. Ooh, kind of already covered this.
Yeah, we kind of covered this one, but you know, I mean, if there's anything you want to add, we really did, you know, we talk about this a lot because it is so important, but you know, just to go back to basics, author platform again, these are your connections with other authors, clients, experts in the field, media outlets, social media accounts. You know, and the strength of a platform is really shown by your ability to influence and reach in order to boost your book sales and your writing career. So work on building this platform well before you begin writing, as we talk about all the time. Tessa, you mentioned a lot, some great tips. Build a website way back when, maintain a strong social media presence to stay in touch with fans. So you can build your following, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You start a podcast, host a webinar. Another great way is start publishing articles in your field of expertise online. You can ask to write a guest article for, you know, mags, websites that specialize in your field. You know, start a blog. You know, there's so many ways that you can just kind of say, hey, can you let me do this? Just to get your information out there, get your name out there. There's so many ideas that you can really just brainstorm if you start early enough.
Absolutely. And I'm going to throw in just some tips here. So when you're starting out, like, let's say you are very new to the digital platform, as we say. So a big mistake I see a lot of people make are they're trying so hard to be relevant on every single social media platform. You don't have to be on all of the platforms. Especially, you want to find the platforms where your audience lives. So that goes back to establishing who your target buyer persona is, what they do for fun, what are their hobbies, where are they the most active on social. You can get all of this information. And if you just want to test out the waters, I would start with 2 platforms. Make those 2 platforms consistent. Make sure you are consistently posting. Make sure you are posting relevant content, engaging content. You're really building that community. It's all about, on social media, a lot of, you know, common mistakes I see are people are trying to grow so much that they're focusing on too many different areas. They have, you know, they're dipping into too many different areas. And the main thing is with social media, engagement is key. Likes are great, but likes are called what we call in digital vanity metrics. They don't convert. So when you are getting true engagement and you are building a community surrounding that, it's going to be so much easier to appeal to that audience and start building it once you have your book out. An author that does this extremely well is Judy Holler. She wrote the book Fear's My Homeboy, and she started, I believe, when she was with us with you know, I think a little bit under 10,000 followers. Now she is exceeding that. She is using the book so as such a great means to build her community surrounding her whole, what she calls her Fear Boss community. And she does this so well, and she's so good in the way that she's not overly promotional, but she's promotional enough to keep her readers engaged. And
right.
that's something that, you know, it's not really that hard to do. you need to focus on platforms that you are, comfortable with. You need to see kind of what your competitors are doing. You need to find content that's going to resonate. And remember, social media is all about engagement. So ask people what they want to see from you. So on Instagram, you have surveys, you have Twitter polls. Ask people what they'd like to see more of. And as Erin mentioned, we always look, especially with nonfiction authors, make sure you are, contributing content to your specific field of expertise. So let's say you're talking about the innovation space or the tech space, try and write for Wired or Fast Company or any of those really great tech hubs for content, as well as if you're in leadership, in Inc. Magazine and Inc. Original, Forbes, Entrepreneur. If you are writing for those credible places and those credible means of spreading content, you are just going to establish yourself that much faster when you're starting to widen your audience base. Plus, that is a major way for you to kind of stick your flag as a thought leader, because if people, trust in the content that you're saying and you are writing for, a content hub that specializes in that, and you are seen as an author who has relevant enough experience to contribute to that, that is huge, especially for your credentials. And, getting on podcasts, start talking about, what you want to talk about, either hosting your own podcast or being guests on a podcast, building up your email list, having a website, being discoverable is so, so, so important. So like I said, you don't have to be doing a little bit of everything. Make sure you're doing enough of like 3 things. And consistency is very much key for branding and for social media building. So if you are overwhelmed by how many social media platforms there are, I know, a lot of us can be, stick with the ones that you feel the most comfortable with, but be very consistent on them. It's better to be consistent than to be sporadic on a bunch of different platforms, if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. And I think just kind of mentioning I like that you talked about how likes don't really mean that much. So when you do content, just to get people engaged and think about the ways you can have people interacting, even something simple like asking a question versus just posting a picture, there's so many ways that you can get people talking and interacting and really build that up. So all that's great information.
We, when my team and I are always, we're planning out our social for the week, we always talk about call to action posts. So that can be anything from just simply asking a question, asking, if you're going to retweet a relevant article that's related to your area, make sure to make it personable, retweet it with something like, I loved reading, bullet point number 4 because of XYZ. What did you like reading about? Or what did you think about this article? Or what piece of advice was your favorite? Always kind of make your audience, give them the leeway to engage. If you are posting a picture, comment your favorite experience, or let's say it's a throwback picture, like throwback to a vacation or whatever, and making it relevant to whatever you're talking about. Tell me about your favorite experience, how it molded you, or like, I'll always ask them to engage with you, or like and comment if you, resonate with this post. Something so simple, but gives your audience kind of like that initiative to do it,
I think a big takeaway from this discussion as well is effort, in that you can't just go, okay, I have something to say, I'm going to write a book. Like, there's so much involved, and if you want to find success, at least, you have to be willing to put in so much time and effort. This is just an ongoing process. You have to build, you have to be out there, you have to be thinking, you have to be brainstorming, you have to be doing. It's so much more than just writing the book, sitting down and doing that. If you want to find your readers, if you want to make this a career, if you want to find success with your book, this involves a lot, and you got to be ready for it. You have to have the energy, you have to have the excitement, and get ready to do it.
It's an ongoing process. And, when we do, ask an author segments, or we talk about authors post-launch, they're always, I thought writing the book was going to be, the hardest part of this, but they're like, the greatest thing about writing a book is that you are constantly promoting that book. But no, it's not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of dedication. It's going to take a lot of effort. This isn't going, you're going to need to put a little bit of elbow grease in it. It's not something, if you want to be a successful author, if you want to have your story told, if you want to have your voice heard, you need to put in that work. You know, the
Yeah.
authors that do extremely well, you see they're out there hustling, they're speaking, they're booking speaking engagements, they're doing webinars, they're doing courses, they're promoting the heck on social media, they're doing podcasts, they're starting podcasts, they are doing every which way, shape, or form of, you know, sending out content that is relevant to their audience, and they are making themselves memorable. They're making themselves relevant, and they're exposing themselves to a whole new different audiences when they're going down these different content streams, because they, you know, it's going to take a lot of planning and preparation, but you know what? A book is such a main way for you to send out content. And so you are having to use that book and use all these either other, you know, streams of content to get that message out. So where we see the best success in people who are doing all of those things, and they are continuously doing those things. It's not, you know, this is all about the journey. It's not really just a sprint to the finish line once you finish the book. That's just kind of where, that's where the writing stops and the, you know, everything else begins.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's this myth, especially if you go to some traditional big publishing house, that you can just kind of sit back and you get a publicist and you show up at a few book signings and there you go. It's good to go, you know, no worries. It's not like that at all. Even if you have some hotshot publicist, you still have to put in all the work because it's your contacts. You're the one, it's on you. So
yeah, what I love to tell authors because I just want to add to that, you know, what you see in TV and movies is very, very far-fetched from what the actual reality is. You can't just sit back and expect, you know, a major publisher's, you know, name just to sell you through to the bestseller list. You are, the people who are on that bestseller, they are putting in that work. They are hustling. They are not sleeping in. They are getting the day started and they are planning out their content. They're still doing their 9 to 5, but they do not stop. And this is something that I always tell, you know, incoming authors who are talking about their publishing options. I always say, we can give you the fundamental tools, the raw materials to get you where you need to be, but we're going to open the door. You got to walk through it. It is up to you to walk through that door. We cannot do it for you. And as much as a publisher may, unfortunately, you are going to see the best. This is your book. You are investing in yourself. And you cannot expect anyone to read your book if you don't want them to. You know, no one's going to pick up your book because you're being, you know, very soft on the promotional side, and people are going, no, people are going to read the books that are being put in their face. You know what I mean?
Right. I know, it's so easy to think, oh, well, once it's up on Amazon, the people will come. No, the people will not come.
Promote, guys.
You have to find the people.
As you can see, we're very passionate about this topic.
We are. We want to help.
All right. And we have so much content on our site, you guys. You know, we've done so many podcasts, articles about this exact subject, about building your platform and how to do it. So if you guys are still needing that help or still wanting that, you know, extra content to read through, have it all on our website. I will link it to the bottom of this post when we post on YouTube and on Instagram. But we were going
to talk about like more marketing, but I think we covered everything. I don't know. Is there anything you want to talk about in marketing? I think it's really just like, be very distinctive in your message and just really focus when you're doing that marketing about what makes your book unique, why it's different, and why readers should buy your book instead of a competitive title. So when you're sending out, you know, press releases, all these things, and doing videos, and, you know, a great way when you're doing that, use humor, use visuals, you know, all of those great things about marketing, but really focus your message, find your ideal reader, find your unique message, and just go with it. So it's very important that you're crafting it that way when you get into marketing.
Absolutely. And I think a big common misconception when people actually get their book published is that they do not want to give their book away for free. You have to do giveaways in order to generate buzz, especially with people in your direct niche audience. So if you have, before you even launch the book, I want you to make a wish list of possible influencers, possible podcasts, or possible people that you can send the book to as a gift. Maybe do a cute PR package. something that's very personable. So if you're going to reach out to an influencer who has a very, very high engagement rate within the topic that you're talking about, make a PR package or make something that is going to make it aesthetically pleasing, because we know our influencers love to post. So, and that's what you want. You want more people to see your book. And so doing book giveaways, especially like Goodreads giveaways, BookBub giveaways, is a huge way for you to generate audience, because what does that do? It generates reviews. And I know when I'm going to read a new book or to purchase a new book, I'm reading the reviews first. I'm seeing how many reviews there are, and I'm reading what people are having to say about the book. So when you do giveaways, you're generating reviews. And I know a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to lose money if I do giveaways. No, you are going to just gain your audience. You're going to expand.
It will come back.
People are going to come back because you are putting that message out there, especially with, we just had an author who's a doctor, and she is in a bunch of different Facebook groups about, being a doctor and, being in like mindfulness practices and things like that. And she gave away copies of her book to people who are willing in those different Facebook groups, just to, get that message out and get, some reviews from other doctors. And she's killing it. Like they all love the book. They're posting about the book. She didn't even have to ask them to. She was sending the book basically as a, I would love to hear your feedback kind of thing. And, these people are posting, reviews, they're posting, things on social media, and the book is blowing up because she is going into all these different pockets of people that she has connections with. And she is giving away her book and being like, I would love to hear your feedback, not requesting anything, but people are doing it because they love the gesture, and people love free books.
I know. And it's like when you go to Costco and get free samples.
Yes.
Concept.
Costco free samples. Man.
But it works. I mean, people start talking about it. There's buzz. I mean, it works. And all of that will come back to you in sales down the road, in, new readers. So it's all going to be worth it if, you sacrifice that a little bit, or sacrifice that in the beginning, because it's all, there's a reason for that, and it's all going to come back. So very smart advice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Finally, after considering your ideal reader, your angle, your expertise, your platform, your writing, we can finally talk about marketing. We kind of just already covered this, but
yeah, I think we've pretty much done everything for marketing. But I know, we have a good assignment though. Should we skip to the assignment?
Yeah, so we've essentially covered all of this, but I'm just going to cover, Erin threw in some great tips here. Knowing your competition, that's huge. We've definitely covered that. Using video. As you guys can see, Erin and we're using video to try and, get to you guys personally. This is who we are. You guys know who we are. We're bubbly people. You love to see it. And people they respond well to video, especially being in the marketing space. Video it converts a lot more than just single images do. So I always like to encourage a lot of my authors to do author videos, virtual readings, do unboxing videos to like get your audience ready for the book. Everything that is going to create some buzz, try to do it with some video, because the more personable, the better. And book launch events. Book launch events are huge. Book signings, virtual book launch events. I know we're in
people are doing Zoom right now, and it's going really well for authors.
Exactly. And, doing all of these things and considering all of these things, considering who your market is, who you're wanting to purchase the book, and really going into all those different pockets, like I mentioned, and really expanding all of those different ways. If you think that there's a certain, like, let's say a book club that would rave about your book, get in touch with them. Get in touch with local book clubs and grassroots marketing. Huge. So, there are tons of things you can do, but there are just a few examples. So we have a really great assignment, because I know that we've been talking about this for a while now. So both fiction and nonfiction writers can use this one. So research your ideal reader. Who are you targeting? Once you figured that out, dig deeper, get more detailed, and write a specific bio for your ideal reader. Imagine who in your mind and who you're speaking to and writing to, and make that, call them a buyer persona. That's what we call them in marketing, a buyer persona. You know, what are their demographics? What do they like to do? And really get personal about this. Erin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just get very specific. And this is something that anyone can do. You know, ideally, it's something to do at the very beginning, but it's something you can keep in mind for writing, for promotions, for building platform. You always want to keep this ideal reader in mind. So just get very specific. When you think you're specific, try and get even more specific. So
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I know that was a little bit longer than our typical videos, but we just had so much information to give you guys.
I know, there's so much info. We get excited.
There's so much info, and we love to cover these topics, and we love to give the relevant information, and like we said, the actionable advice that you can take away from this video and really apply to your everyday book promotion process.
Yes.
So nonfiction authors and fiction authors, if you are looking to, you know, get that expertise and really trying to, if you are struggling with the, you know, how to find your ideal reader and things like that, you know, we can partner with you on the early concept phase and kind of help you establish who that audience is and help you every step of the way. So if you are really struggling and really wanting to partner with someone early on, don't forget that you can reach out to us at contact@Greenleaf Book Group, and we are happy to help you. All right, so as far as these videos go, we will have another one coming out next week. And so that's all we have for today. Remember to engage with our videos, to tell us how you're liking these videos. If you have any suggestions for content or what we should cover, please let us know, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.